Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Terrace police are seeking a missing young woman. A BC girl's medication funding is reinstated, and the Kitimat mayor on the demolition of Nechako Centre.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Friday, July 18th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We'll begin tonight with our news that's local to the Northwest. The Terrace RCMP are looking for public assistance to find a missing person. The missing person is a young woman named Sarah Holden McFadden, and her last reported sighting was on July 13th. McFadden's description is of a 19-year-old Caucasian woman. She's 5'6" in height, about 126 pounds, with brown hair and eyes. Anyone who happens to have information about her whereabouts is being asked to call the Terrace RCMP or Crime Stoppers. The Nechako Centre was once a Kitimat staple, but has deteriorated over time and is now set for demolition, but it's taken a while for any action to get underway. Here's CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin on how the district of Kitimat plans to get rid of the aging centre.
In the summer of last year, the District of Kitimat determined that they would be demolishing the rundown section of the Kitimat Nechako Centre since it had been sitting there as a vacant building for a number of years. And while initial plans were for the demolition to be completed by November 2024, some complications ended up arising in those plans.
While they were doing the original plans to demolish it, they had all the plans of how it was built and everything. But what they didn't have is plans of what type of renovations or things were added on after. And that's where the issue came, where they found some extra asbestos. So there was definitely an extra cost and a little bit of time. But the extra abatement's already been done. And July 28th, they will be here to knock down the rest of it.
But even with the resumption of the demolition, the future of that particular space after the work gets finished is still unclear, but the district seems quite keen on taking suggestions.
I think it might be a great place for a future city hall for Kitimat. And then, of course, that would be an anchor tenant to bring in probably restaurants and coffee shops and stuff like that. So right now there is no absolute plan for what we're doing after, but council wanted to act and do something, at least get the eyesore out of the way, and then see what opportunities come from there.
Kitimat's Mayor Phil Gerbuth also did acknowledge that the demolition will likely invoke bittersweet feelings for some, himself included, because despite the fact that the municipality will have one less eyesore once it's gone, the center was still Kitimat's first real shopping center, with it opening up back in the 1950s. The mayor also mainly attributes the center's degradation to a significant population decrease from a few years ago, around the time when Eurocan and Methanex closed. And although the demolition work has resumed, it's still not 100% certain as to when the teardown will finally be completed. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
After a long, hard-fought battle by her family, the province has reinstated coverage for an expensive drug for a girl on Vancouver Island with a rare genetic condition.
I just got off the phone with Minister Osborne and it's over. Charlie is getting her medication back.
Charlie Pollock's mother, relieved and overjoyed, posted this update on social media last night. The Ministry of Health also confirms that Charlie, who recently turned 10, will once again receive coverage for Brineura. The medication treats Batten disease, which results in multiple seizures every day, eventually causing brain damage. The province cut the funding for the drug that costs $1 million per year, even after Charlie's family argued Brineura was improving her quality of life. A letter was then sent to the Premier and Health Minister Josie Osborne, signed by more than a dozen Batten disease medical experts from around the world, condemning the situation, which prompted the province to reverse its decision. Coming up next, Premier David Eby's cabinet shuffle. Bill C-5 legislation is proving controversial in the Northwest, where chiefs of the Wet'suwet'en are unhappy with initially being excluded from the meeting. The chiefs were granted access to the meeting only after public pressure. Hereditary Chief Namox said it shouldn't take this kind of efforts just to be heard. We'll have more from the Wet'suwet'en chief Monday on their experience attending the summit with Prime Minister Carney. And as CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, the Wet'suwet'en chiefs were not the only ones to feel dismay and skepticism towards Prime Minister Carney.
Prime Minister Mark Carney opened today's major project summit trying to turn the page.
We together can write a new chapter in the relationship between the Government of Canada and First Nations. And those aren't just words. This isn't an aspiration. This is the law.
And while Carney stood by his law, those in the room say he also heard them out.
The agenda was, I would say, abandoned to accommodate the speeches of the chiefs and the concerns of the chiefs, which I feel was a good move on the Prime Minister's part.
The hours of meetings started with skepticism from chiefs who are still upset by the government ramming through new legislation that empowers Cabinet to fast-track national interest projects like pipelines.
He's got to come up with some commitments, firm commitments.
I don't think we've gotten to a place where you're going to see any agreement come out of this.
But when it wrapped, there was some cautious optimism.
I'm glad that the Prime Minister and Cabinet Minister stayed all day, but still, I think the way the legislation is crafted, there's, as we heard today from many chiefs, there's still a lot of trust issues.
Outside the closed-door conversations, though, emotions ran high.
This is what we call our native land.
This summit is a political theater.
And while views varied on what the Prime Minister had to say, there was agreement that what matters is action, something Carney's government will soon be tested on.
There's many steps to complete before we actually select a project, and the Prime Minister wants to make sure that that's done well.
Today, the government committed to further Indigenous engagement, but also said they plan to get their new major projects approvals office up and running by Labor Day.
Premier Eby's cabinet shuffle aimed to better support the province as the effects of tariffs and the trade war begin to wear on the economy. CTV's Rob Buffum looks into these changes.
Just over 8 months since he won the election, Premier David Eby is shuffling his cabinet, pointing to Trump's tariffs as a motivator.
The world has changed since we formed government. The threats from the president have not only escalated, but they have started to materialize.
Demoted, Gary Begg, gone as Public Safety Minister and Solicitor General, now Parliamentary Secretary of Surrey Infrastructure. George Chow out as Minister of Citizen Services, in as Parliamentary Secretary for the Downtown East Side and Chinatown.
Mr. Eby's had the opportunity to assess the performance of his cabinet. And he's making some adjustments here in the dog days of summer when people aren't paying attention.
There are two new faces. Jesse Sunner takes on the post-secondary portfolio, and Nina Krieger, a first-time MLA in Victoria, increasingly the epicenter of street disorder, replaces Begg in the high-profile role.
I have close working relationships with mayor, with councillors, and also with business owners and residents that feel all too often unsafe in our downtown core.
Ravi Kahlon shifts from housing to jobs minister, a move aligned with his existing file in charge of tariffs response.
The people who are going to face the impacts of those tariffs are working people on both sides of the border.
The shuffle included Christine Boyle, a newbie Vancouver MLA, assuming Kahlon's housing ministry, Diana Gibson moving to Citizen Services, Spencer Chandra Herbert becoming Indigenous Relations Minister, and Ann Kang is the new Tourism Minister.
It was bigger than what I think would be led to believe was going to happen.
Facing a trade war with the states, concerns about housing, street disorder, post-secondary funding, and hosting the World Cup in a year, these new ministers will all have a busy summer. Robert Buffum, CTV News, Victoria.
The BC Wildfire Service says most of BC will experience below seasonal temperatures, while it will be warmer in coastal and southern parts of the province. It says the northeastern corner of the province will receive scattered thunderstorms along with showers lasting into the evening. The update comes as about 80 fires are actively burning in the province, about 20% of which are classified as out of control. The service says about 70% of the active blazes were caused by lightning, while most of the remainder are suspected to be human-caused. Now, let's take a look at your Northwest weather report. The sun rose at 5:22 a.m. this morning in the Northwest and sets at 9:57 p.m. tonight. Tonight on the North Coast, expect conditions to be cloudy with a 30% chance of drizzle. Winds from the northwest at 20 kilometers an hour, becoming light late this evening, a low of 12 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect some more drizzle tomorrow before the sun comes out and stays through till Tuesday. Daily highs between 15 and 18 degrees, overnight lows between 11 and 13 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect it to be partly cloudy with a low of 12 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, conditions will stay mainly sunny, with a few clouds maybe on Sunday, but temperatures staying warm, daily highs between 24 and 28 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking partly cloudy with a 60% chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm this evening, winds from the northwest at 20 kilometers an hour, a low of 9 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, some possible showers and thunderstorms over the weekend, and then a mix of sun and clouds to get into the week. Daily highs between 23 and 27 degrees, overnight lows between 11 and 15 degrees. Checking your Northwest highways now. On Highway 16 on Saturday, there's a special event in Skidegate, the Totem to Totem Marathon. Watch for traffic personnel. There's also construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect, as well as bridge maintenance, line painting, and utility work going on. On Highway 37, watch for industrial traffic, bridge construction and maintenance, as well as frost heaves and crack sealing. On Highway 37A, there's paving operations, road sweeping, and a section with falling rocks. And on the Niska Highway, watch out for line painting. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, mortgage rates on the rise. Measles cases continue to rise in Alberta, and the youngest are paying the steepest price. Babies too young to be immunized are especially vulnerable. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee with the story of one mother whose daughter's life is forever changed because of the virus.
The calm of nature's sanctuary, a stark contrast to the storm this family has endured. 9-month-old Kimmy, better and happier now, but 5 months ago, fighting for her life.
You honestly don't expect for your 4-month-old to be diagnosed with something that was essentially eradicated.
The infant contracted measles after a routine vaccination appointment at a hospital near Edmonton, but still too young to get immunized for that particular virus. 5 days of fever over 100, and then the spots exploded all over her tiny body.
She didn't really eat, because her throat was so swollen. It was scary.
The measles outbreak continues to spread in Alberta, the second province after Ontario to have more confirmed cases compared to the United States.
What we're seeing in this current outbreak is people under 15, 16. A majority of those are in the younger age, and we see more complications in the younger age, less than 5 years of age.
And some complications can linger. Kimmy may have recovered, but her immune system weak from the virus, making it difficult to fight off other illnesses. But those aren't the only challenges.
She can potentially lose her hearing. The side effects from the disease can show up, 7 to 10 years down the road from now. Like her brain can swell randomly and she can die.
Which means Kimmy isn't in the clear yet.
This is what happens when you don't vaccinate.
A mother's stern message to hopefully prevent more families from suffering their plight while they brave the uncertainty of their long journey. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Bow Valley Provincial Park.
The Postal Workers Union says a yes vote on Canada Post's latest offer is a green light to steamroll workers. Some 55,000 postal workers are set to vote next week on the Crown Corporation's latest offer. Federal Jobs Minister Patty Hidalgo asked the Canada Industrial Relations Board to step in and hold the vote. Canada Post says its financial situation is dire and this offer is the furthest it can go. Some higher than average increases in mortgage rates have economists weighing in. Here's CTV's Heather Wright.
More than 1 million mortgages are set to renew this year, with many borrowers facing interest rates much higher than what they have been paying.
The lowest quote we received was 3.86 and the highest was 4.49.
That's a big jump from the 1.9% Sean Hannafin and his wife had been paying on their mortgage.
But we're also lucky enough that we're towards the end of our mortgage where the principal's a little lower. I can't imagine being a new homeowner and trying to afford like a $750,000 to $1 million mortgage right now. It'd be quite difficult.
According to the Bank of Canada, nearly 60% of Canadian mortgage holders will renew their loans this year and next. As a result, many will be facing significantly higher monthly payments. And while the central bank has made a number of rate cuts over the last year, with the policy rate holding at 2.75%, it is still much higher than rates 4 or 5 years ago.
This is a hike, and the underlying theme is always the same. Everything else has gone up. And at the end of the day, that's what makes this continuous increase just that much more painful.
The sharp increase in interest rates has led many Canadians to explore alternative lenders to try and get the best rate possible. Experts do recommend shopping around, but also urge consumers to read the fine print.
You should always ask yourself, if this alt lender is making me a much better offer than one of the main banks, what's the catch? There will be a catch. Maybe you can entertain that catch. Maybe you're willing to take that trade-off, but you should always be aware that there is a trade-off.
With inflation edging up slightly in June, many economists expect the Bank of Canada will hold its key lending rate at its next announcement July 30th. There will be, however, 3 more opportunities for a rate cut by the end of the year. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Turning to the markets now, losses in industrial stocks weighed on the Toronto market as Canada's main stock index finished lower today, while U.S. stock markets were mixed. The Canadian dollar rose almost 0.2 cents. The price of gold was up $13. Oil was down 18 cents. Natural gas was up 2 cents. Aluminum was down $11. In Toronto, the TSX dropped almost 73 points. The Venture Index rose by 6 points. In New York, the Dow Jones was down 142 points, and the Nasdaq went up by 10 points. Still ahead, the E. coli outbreak that's hitting both southern coasts. The Canada Border Services Agency says officers have seized a significant amount of cocaine at the Osoyoos port of entry. It says that on June 11th, officers found bricks of cocaine weighing a total of 70 kilograms in the bed of a pickup truck that belonged to a Canadian citizen. The agency says that marks the largest cocaine seizure at that border crossing and represents many thousands of individual doses. It says agents arrested the driver, who was then transferred into the custody of the RCMP. Beaches on the country's south coasts are having to close due to warm temperatures, making the water prone to E. coli. CTV's Rob Buffum reports.
A red flag risk.
The worst temperatures for E. coli are right what we're seeing now, 30 degrees to 35 degrees.
With a heat warning in place for parts of Ontario, Quebec, and eastern Canada, cooling off in the lake can at times pose a shocking health risk.
I was bleeding. I couldn't keep anything down. I ended up throwing up and then running to the bathroom every 5 seconds.
Lindsay Page ended up in hospital for 10 days this month after a visit to Nickel Beach along the Ontario shores of Lake Erie.
We just kind of went in the water a couple times to cool off. I was about up to just under my chest area, I was right here.
While the beach she visited wasn't closed due to E. coli at the time, the 17-year-old was still diagnosed with an E. coli infection. Her doctors believe she was infected while swimming in Lake Erie.
They said I could feel the symptoms for up to 6 weeks.
While the beach Paige swam at remains open today, across the country from Vancouver to PEI, multiple waterways from coast to coast are closed due to high E. coli levels. Warm summer weather across parts of the country is a contributing factor.
Almost an incubator for E. coli to reproduce and cause problems for swimming holes, for lakes.
Multiple studies have raised concerns about water safety tests on E. coli, often taking too long to alert the public of unsafe levels.
I really think it's important to keep up with the E. coli management.
One sure sign of dangerously high E. coli levels is a red flag like the one behind me. As for the heat wave, well, it's already lifted for here in southern Ontario. It's expected that by tomorrow, Quebec will get some reprieve, and by Monday, Atlantic Canada will be released from the sizzling summer temperatures. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Stephen Colbert has received a message of support from his fellow late-night host at CBS as CBS is canceling the Late Night Show. The Tonight Show's Jimmy Fallon says he was as shocked as everyone. While President Donald Trump was overjoyed, he was of frequent criticism on the program. We leave you tonight with one talented young man's delve into rocket science. Here's CTV's Adam Sawatsky.
This is our normal garden.
His mom's garden, which is filled with flowers.
And then over here we got the rocket garden.
His garden, Alex Rose points out, which is populated with prototypes.
SJ1, a little crispy.
Before the 13-year-old reveals how his rocket got roasted, his mom Amanda says the seeds of Alex's garden were planted when he taught himself how to code software at 7 and constructed his first AI-powered robot by 9.
He wants to be thinking out of the box and just finds a way to make his ideas happen.
After selling a few of those robots, which was part of the business plan he devised in middle school to build his own tech company, Alex invested the profits into making rockets.
Rocketry is hard. I made the mistake of thinking it would be easy. It's not.
Well, it's certainly not easy to teach kids, because a rocket's explosive propulsion is potentially dangerous.
Launching rockets was not really part of the curriculum, so he just came up with other ways to do it.
Which brings us back to the rocket garden's burnt bloom, which Alex did successfully launch without explosives before an overheated circuit board made it burst into flames.
It's a learning process, and every new one you make is better than the last one.
Undeterred, Alex created a new battery-powered system, built a mini jet-style propulsion engine, and coded an application to operate it all.
Most aerospace companies don't have a chair to launch their rockets, but
then again, most companies are not what Alex has named TORI, an acronym for the Teaching of Rockets Initiative.
most people don't have the money to fly out to Florida and watch the real rockets. So if we could bring smaller model rockets into schools, that would be amazing.
Once he's mastered how to make simple, safe rockets, Alex is planning to produce the components in his shed and share them with teachers across the region so other students can be inspired through learning hands-on.
If you solve a problem and you have the answer to this, why wouldn't you give that to someone else who's in need?
Because along with a big brain, Alex is cultivating an even bigger heart. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
That's our news for now. For more local news, visit us at cftktv.com. All of our stories and videos also go up on our YouTube and TikTok pages. Thanks for watching.